Well, we have to do the newspapers. Please make sure that you get interactive. Facebook, Joy News on TV. We also have a Twitter handle at Joy News on TV, and let us know what you think by all the things that are dominating your discussion platforms. I'm sure that, well, key among them will be the CST, the Communication Services Tax, but a directive has been given. Later on the program, we'll be speaking to a tax expert, speak to the Ghana Telecommunications Chamber, try to get some word or teaser some word from them if you're ready to do so. Ken Ashibi is the Chief Executive. I've been joined by Joseph Kofi Frimpong Akable. Joseph Akable. Joseph.
Good morning, Roland.
How are you? How was your weekend?
I was very good.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I spent it in the office. Fortunately and unfortunately, I must say I spent it in the office.
Yeah, unfortunately you spent it. Yeah, it should be unfortunate because weekend for relaxing time. But if you have dedicated your life to become a journalist, what do you expect? Every time.
Few weekends
there were a lot of rains. How was it in your neighborhood?
Yes.
Where do you live? East Legon?
On Saturday evening, North Kaneshie, on Saturday evening, I was moving out to do something and it started raining, and you know how it happens in Accra when it rains, the roads get flooded and there's so much traffic because everyone is rushing from one destination to another for obvious reasons. And so when I saw it, I was watching you do the AM news, and Accra, I understand, has won Climate Resilience Award. I mean,
yes, definitely.
I think congrats to all of us who live in Accra, but I mean there are obviously many challenges that we are still confronted with that we have to find.
And I know that Bloomberg initiative very well. It includes not only the climate change related issues, but also, for example, planning the city either in relation to transport and roads and building codes, etc., to make sure that it conforms to some of the best practices of making sure that in the future things don't happen by way of disasters, etc. And it's in that regard. But this one is in regard to waste and the means by which they have given informal sectors the opportunity to be able to play critical roles.
All the things you mentioned, I don't see a single one of them that we are actually looking ahead with. But that notwithstanding, I mean, we know that the current mayor has talked about plans and other things to turn the city around. We just hope that indeed things turn around, and
maybe our expectations are too high.
Perhaps.
Okay, please start with the newspapers.
Let's start with the Daily Graphic, the front page. It says, Ghana faces safety security risk in abundance of standards challenges due to underfunding. That is coming from the Ghana Standards Authority. There's a photograph of Professor Alex Dodu on the front page. He's the Director General. Abolish death penalty. Amnesty International appeals. And that is on page 16. Help unravel cause of former UN Secretary General's death. That is also on page 16 of the Daily Graphic. The back page of the Daily Graphic has some sports stories. If you are a Hearts of Oak fan, you know, for some time there's been this joke about Kotoko playing in continental competitions and Hearts of Oak playing on the local scene. So there's this story, Hearts Olympics in stalemate. And so if you're a Hearts of Oak fan, you've been wondering whether your team has been playing any football. That's what they've been playing, Homo World Cup. You support Hearts of Oak, right?
No, I'm a Kotoko fan. Okay. I've always been a Kotoko fan since childhood.
So they are playing in the...
Hearts is a no-no for me. Well, not because they're not a good team, but because they have, you know, loyalty is everything in our culture. So
yeah, they are competing aggressively in the Homo World Cup. So
but they used to be very good. I mean, there were times in the late 2000s and then the early 2000s when, or the late 90s and the early 2000s when we were very jealous as Kotoko supporters.
From at least 2007 to now, if not one.
Yeah, because they had Cecil Jones and the rest of the players, Don Botti and the rest, and they were very good. Yeah. They had Shambo Quaid some time back as well, died in the 90s.
Stephen Appiah or passed through the rounds, but now that's not the House of Folk. Okay, but still on sports, on the back page of the Daily Graphic, there's a story about the 2019 WAFO Cup of Nations final. Senegal make Ghana pay the penalty, and I understand Ghana lost 1-3 to host Senegal, and so we failed to retain our title on the penalty shootouts. And the center spread has a special feature that says, "I'm a girl, not bride or mother. End child marriage now." It's by Dorian Ando. You may want to grab a copy and read that one. We can move on and look at the Ghanaian Times. The front page of the Ghanaian Times, it has the story about FMC hails government for withdrawing CSE, and President begins Eastern Region tour, inspect road projects. And government resolved two-tag grievances this week. That's according to Professor Kwesi Yankah. And President fumes at contractors, hints of termination of contracts for non-performance. Also on the front page of the Ghanaian Times. The back page has Roland's favorite story, the House of Folk story. And there's also the local Black Stars story.
Yeah.
And finally, for the center spread, has the story about the president and the contractors, and the two-tag story regarding Professor Kwesi Yankah in the center spread. Roland.
Quite interesting about that story. You want to do more, or let me just do a couple?
Can do a couple.
Okay, so let me go to the Daily Guide. The Daily Guide has a front page story. MPP slams Mahama over fake militias. And we also have a Kufuor cuts out for Kwabinga Bumusu roads. Down there, we have the Vice President warning soldiers over social media. Yeah, that's quite interesting because, you know, in this age, day and age of social media, I guess sometimes the members of the military are indecisive as to what roles really they have to play. But even they have codes, so they have to just make sure they go according to the code. Let's sweep 47 Ashanti seats, according to Nana. I'll be the president, definitely. He's been on a tour. Let's go to the center spread of the Daily Guide. The center spread. I hope my Colina did the center spread. No? Okay. We are mature now. That is Lydia Forson. Says she and her co-star actresses in the Perfect Picture movie. And we all do know that they promised to have a sequel that will be released in December. Shirley Frimpong-Manzo is the producer-director for that. You know, other stories on the center spread. Strong women are shaped by men around them, according to Angelina Jolie, a strong actress. Has a new movie out. It's a sequel, if not the third part of Maleficent, Mistress of Evil. We're hitting the cinemas. It says the sequel to 2014's Maleficent will be released in the UK later this month, and also stars Chiwetel Ejiofor and Michelle Pfeiffer. Jessica Saforo jabs RTP award over fake photo. This is what happened in her category. The picture that was used to represent her was not her. And she made a social media post and says that, you know it's bogus when they don't even do their research well and pass off a picture of my cousin as me. And we also have government stopping telcos from milking consumers. It's quite interesting. We'll do some bit of discussion on the subject, myself and Akable, and see how it goes by way of our experiences. On the back page of the Daily Guide, we have Kotoko coach in bribery scandal. It's a question. The coach is Zachariason, and boy 15 stabs player 15. And this is a boy of Ghanaian descent called Baptista Ejay from North Woolwich, who was critically injured on Stratford Broadway, East London. Charlie, I love mentioning the British names. Let me go over this again. It's called Baptista Ejay from North Woolwich, who was found critically injured on Stratford Broadway, East London. Charlie, we have to be proud of our own streets as well. Ajin Kotoku Street. Right. Swansea is for sale according to the story. I've been following the issues of Swansea lately, so I don't know. Let's go to the Daily Dispatch before Joseph comes in with the next paper. We have focus on 200 constituencies, and Aswase is the next one. Can NDC's Muntaka retain his seat against MPP Seidu? Both sides seem to have some difficulty. I'm not sure what's the... they've not convened that election yet, right? The primary for, because it was put
yes, it was put on hold.
Yes, because of the difficulties. Yeah. I'm sure maybe they are doing some back-end negotiations. Update on GFA presidential race. Fulanis cry out to Samira Bawumia on Ghana card issues. Help us. We are being turned away. What were the preparations towards 2016 election? Get to page 5 of the Daily Dispatch to get to know what the latest is. And the security couple's overview of June 4, 1979 explosion is all historical for you. On the back page, GFA election, Fred Papo woos delegates public with 5 hours at manifesto. And the 5 R's we're told include reorganization and many other related issues. Hey, Charlie, 5 R's. Okay, please.
Some more stories. We can do the Finder. The front page of the Finder, it says, free SHS, 1 district, 1 factory, game changers is coming from the president. And telcos ordered to stop upfront CST deductions. A Muslim community calls for an end to discrimination against hijab. And I'll review free SHS within 90 days in office. That is coming from former President John Dramani Mahama. The center spread of the Finder newspaper now has a number of stories there. Nominations open for Ghana Cocoa Awards, and Ghana Consolidated Diamonds will be revived is coming from President Akufo-Addo. And I'll review free SHS within 90 days. That story is in the center spread. I think we can start and do a bit of the details. I'll start with the telco story. It's on page 5 of the Finder newspaper. It says, the Ministry of Communication has directed a telecommunications company to stop notifying subscribers when the communications service tax on airtime purchased is deducted. It says, a statement from the ministry signed by Esla Owusu-Ekufo, the communication minister, said a directive must be obeyed with immediate effect. It goes on to also give some directives regarding a data purchase, saying that when you purchase data for a month, it shouldn't expire. It should be carried on to the next month as well. So that is good news for a lot of people. But it's the CST implementation that is still problematic. And yesterday I was trying to purchase data, and the telco had advertised it as being 40 cedis. That is 2.5 gig data for 40 cedis.
Okay, you bought data.
Data.
But did you buy credit to then convert to data?
No, I was bundling direct from my Momo account.
Okay.
And so I was told that it's 40 cedis. What had been written is 40 cedis for 2.5 gig. Then when I selected that option, I was now told that I have to give approval to pay 42.80 instead of the 40 cedis. Which obviously meant that the 2.5 gig data, which had been advertised as 40 cedis, was actually being sold for more than 40 cedis.
No, but you should know that there's a tax component, shouldn't you?
Yes.
It's like VAT.
Yes, but that is the bit about the upfront that we had been told about. Is that not it? Because if I'm going to buy 10 cedis airtime and I'm not getting 10 cedi airtime, then I'm not buying 10 cedi airtime. I work there to buy 10 cedi airtime.
Okay, let's see whether we have the statement of the Ministry of Communications. We'll try and see whether, and then we'll get a critical analysis of it, because there's a certain caveats that they put there as well.
Yes, they gave that caveat, but according to the Communication Ministry, the CST has always been in existence, but the telcos were making upfront deductions when the tax was pegged at 6%. It says CST should be treated the same way VAT, NHIL, Get Fund Levy, and all other taxes and levies imposed on entities doing business in Ghana are treated. This extraordinary upfront deduction and notification of same subscribers must stop with immediate effect. So I think still there are answers that we need to ask of the ministry. We understand the ministry will be actually holding a news conference either today or tomorrow.
Today?
Yes, today. Okay. So these are questions
10,
that
11,
obviously
yes.
we need to put to the ministry to clarify how that deduction should be taking place, because I don't think it's right if you've advertised that data is 40 cedis and it's 2.5 gig and I'm asked to pay more than 40 cedis. Then they should amend what the display pane and indicate that it is 42.80 for 2.5 gig of data, so that I know that's what I'm subscribing to, but not after I've done that. I don't know what your own experiences has been.
My experience was that on Saturday, this statement was issued. The statement will try as much as possible to put on the screens for you and try to review ourselves. Was issued before Friday, close of Friday.
Yeah.
Okay. So earlier I had also bought some credits. I don't use the Momo to do the bundle.
You buy the credit.
I buy the credit, then So previously, when I buy, I got a message. So the message will then subsequently tell me how much has been deducted upfront. So I got those ones logically, and it was not a comment or a message that you can receive as a message. It will just appear, and then you just press OK, and then it goes. So what I noticed was that, for example, if I bought 10 Ghana, I got 9 cedis, 10 pesos. The message will come like that. But subsequently, when I loaded 40 Ghana cedi, but I loaded 20 in bit. So the first 20 I had almost 4 cedis as my credit balance. And then I had, when I loaded the 20, I had a balance that was about 21 point something Ghana. So it means that they had done a deduction.
Okay.
But this time I wasn't informed upfront, because prior to the statement from the Ministry of Communications, a message would have come on your phone for my network. Yeah, and I use Vodafone. So that's the experience I had. But the deduction was still made. I'm getting some feedback that something was done, or the messaging this morning is a bit different than previously what the experience was of me or by me on Saturday. So I'm sending for credit to be bought for me, and then I'll recharge. I'll see how it goes. Yeah, and practically,
and I think that's why it's good that the ministry will be speaking today. I mean, because we need additional details on how exactly this implementation should be.
Okay, so we have the statement, and you will take us through the statement, and we'll also tend to analyze what the concerns are, or what the interpretations are by the two of us.
Okay, so it says that we must emphasize the fact that the CST was increased from the existing rate of 6% to 9% effective 4th September 2019. It says the tax has been in existence since 2008 and was increased to provide revenue for cybersecurity initiatives to protect the digital infrastructure and policies being used by both the public and private sector. It says at the series of meetings held between the Ministry of Communications, mobile network operators, and the NCA on 7th and 8th October 2019, were informed that prior to the 4th September 2019, MNOs had not been passing on the CST to subscribers, but had decided to take advantage of the 3% increase to pass on the entire tax to subscribers. This has effectively increased their profit margin at the expense of subscribers. All efforts to get them to revert to the September 2019 situation has failed, as they literally exact their pound of flesh from their consumers. To minimize the negative impact of the current mode of deduction of the CST, the Ministry of Communications hereby directs the implementation of the following. So 1, a CST should be treated the same way VAT, NHIL, Get Fund levy, and all other taxes and levies imposed on entities doing business in Ghana are treated. This extraordinary upfront deduction and notification of same to subscribers must stop with immediate effect. And the second directive relates to a bit about the data usage, and the third one says MNOs will be subject to strict compliance with exiting quality of service standards to ensure value for the subscribers' money in accordance with their license obligations.
So let the statement stand. Let it be on the screen. So the first one, it says CST should be treated the same way VAT, NHIL, Get Fund. And I believe that when you go purchase, either from the mall or a restaurant, etc., you are charged this, or any other service.
Yes, but you know it is computed the way it is done. So it is part of the lineup, then you have a total underneath which you are supposed to pay. And so if you are even to look at it that way, if it's to be treated that way, is that also not upfront? I'm just asking you. Is that not upfront? You are paying it right at...
It's upfront.
Upfront, yes, good. But part of the statement that caught my attention is that the ministry was saying that prior to the 3% increase, the telcos were actually absorbing the 6% entirely. They were not passing it on to consumers. That was at the top of the statement. So they are now saying that the telcos have now decided, because the 3% has come in, they've now decided to shift the not the communication ministry necessarily.
Well, so we will make sure that at the end of the day, we also have some conversation on it. And we'll let you know. We spoke to some ordinary persons like you and I, ordinary Ghanaians. You know, not everybody is an ordinary Ghanaian, so some categories are not. So we'll see how it goes. But at the end of the day, it affects everybody. I know that because of the experiences of the upfront adjustments or the upfront deductions, it makes people uncomfortable.
Yes, it does. It does.
And I don't know how perhaps it could be deducted by usage, because for many of the times when we want to buy bundle, it is we buy with money. We buy with airtime. So even if you paid with your Momo, it is airtime. So they are charging on the airtime.
Usage, you see, it's like the electricity, the prepaid. Let me give the prepaid example. When there's increase in the utilities,
it reduces
how long it lasts.
The quantum of power you have purchased.
Good. And how long it lasts. And so if you are buying 10 CD, you are getting a certain quantity. The only problem with the telco situation is that they advertise the money. And so you are told that you are buying 10 CD of airtime. So you are buying 10 CD of airtime. That's the problem, the difficulty they find themselves in. You know, even though for the utilities, you are not told the quantity of kilowatts you are purchasing. You are not told. You are told that you bought 10 CD worth of kilowatts of power. So that's the difference. That's creating the problem.
Yeah.
But
I think this time maybe they should have reduced. For example, if it was for every 1 Ghana cedis, you have to speak for 60 seconds. They could have just at the back end reduced it to 40 seconds.
But still 1 Ghana cedi, and you be told. Yeah, I think that's relatively better than.
What but at the end of the day, it's still deduction nonetheless.
It is. But it doesn't look comfortable when you are told it's 40 cedis and you are asked to pay more than 40 cedis.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't make anybody comfortable at all. Okay. What's your own view? And since you tend to look at issues related to cases of the courts, because you're a good court reporter, and credit to you, we tend to get creditable understanding of all the related issues. About the amnesty story, is it in the front page of the Times or the Graphic?
Yes, it's in Graphic. I actually agree with the call coming from Amnesty. It's on page 16. They're asking that it should be taken off the books. My reason for disagreeing may be different. Generally, the human rights position across the globe is that countries are moving towards taking a death penalty off the books. That is what is happening. Seth Kwame Boateng did a brilliant documentary on this subject where it showed that there are people who had been on death sentence for many years, but you know the execution had not been signed, approval from the executive had not come in. And that is where my reason for agreeing with the call from Amnesty comes in. Okay. The fact that we are imposing the sentence and not following through with it. We are told that the last time we did it was in sometime 96. We've not done it since then. And so that shows that there's a problem with someone giving approval for this. And so my point is that if we don't want to execute it, why do we give it that punishment out in the first place? And so I think we agree as a country that there's a problem with it. And I think it's high time we just take it off the books once and for all.
Well, I think if you went through the processes of adjudication, and it's a capital punishment, the death penalty should be applied.
The statistics here says that 180 persons, according to the prison service, have been on death row for many years. No execution in the last 26 years. And so when you are caught in crimes, capital punishment, including murder, mostly given this kind of sentence.
Well, across the world, we have at least of 198 UN member states. We have approximately about 56 countries retaining capital punishment, and 106 countries so far. And in the US, you take all over the states, about 29.
Fits the point I was making about the mass of countries.
Yeah, it looks like we're all moving away. And you look at the bulk of the states in the US, and so far only 29 still have it retained. And consequently, we've had consistent advocacy for it to be abolished. We're hoping that, well, I'm for capital punishment though. Death penalty. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth.
I am for it if we are going to implement it, but we are not implementing it. 26 years, so we just take it off our books.
Anyway, so we have to look at myjournline.com, and we'll do that before we bring in the sports team. And the
first story says 80% of NPP campaign promises fulfilled. That's coming from Eslo, the communications minister. Akufo-Addo defies reins to interact with citizenry. It's also on MyJournline. And still on the presidency, he has reiterated his position on the sexuality education. And why I went public about being raped 67 years.
I read this piece and we're moving.
Nobel Peace Prize has brought peace, I must say, to East Africa, and that is Ethiopian's Prime Minister. I was in Ethiopia earlier in this year. The Ethiopians love him.
They love him, eh?
Yeah, they love him.
Yeah, well, he was nearly toppled.
Yeah.
What an irony. Yeah.
Try to split China and get shattered bones. That is president of China. Okay.
Xi Jinping, give him one in there.
National Cyber Security Center educates students on cyber crime. That is the last story on my journal.
Okay. So take us for sports.
Benedict will be coming to give us the sports. I hope he doesn't have the story about the Homo World Cup. We are not interested in that one. He should tell us the big tournaments.